Hello viewers, this is Oklahoma Bridges. Thanks for tuning in to the continuation of the Style 4 Big Ben Chime Alarm rebuild project. This was a 1935 green cased non-luminous chime alarm clock, and I am continuing the process of assembling the movement back together. And in this video we are going to reassemble the alarm hammer. Here it is. It's a very interesting design. A Babbitt hammerhead on a brass rod, and it's actually a spring, if you see the way it's arranged, with this piece being arranged to drive it positively and this arranged to allow it some play. And of course there is a spring here because that's part of the chime alarm setup. There's the lifting tail of the hammer that engages with the lifting wheel. And you see for the first he whispers, there are 3 lifting lobes. And then for the then he shouts, there are a whole array of lifting lobes. And I counted these once upon a time when I had a another chime alarm clock that I was going to attempt to make into a time and strike movement, which I ended up backing out of. And some of the earlier versions of this clock, this second disc here, the first he whispers disc, is a complete disc with just 3 lugs on it. And then as time went on, of course, Westclox figured out how to cheap out a little bit, not use as much material in making this. And I think the later chime alarm clocks, it's just a single disc with the whisper lifting pins just punched out of the main disc. But we're going to assemble this first. And I gotta get the hole lined up there like that. And get this in position. I think we'll set this on the holder here, make it a little easier. There is a rest pin. We want to make sure that the tail of the hammer is on the rest pin. And there's also a spring. This is the spring that causes the hammer to return back. And we actually want this like that on there. So just bear with me here for a moment while I get this into position. And this is spring loaded, so it's going to want to pop out of place. So let's get a screw. And these, of course, are the little blued screws. I think these are the same screws that are used in the full-size pocket watch movements, the Pocket Ben and the Scotty. Interesting note, back in the day when this thing was made, they would have made all the screws in-house. They wouldn't have bought them from a third-party supplier. They would have had a whole department of probably Brown & Sharp automatic screw lathes where bar stock would go in one end of the machine, and come out as finished screws at the other end. That's why you see so many specialty screws and fasteners in old equipment like clocks and other types of machines. The screws were made the standard thread, of course, but because they made their own screws and nuts and everything, they could have an endless variety of specially designed heads on them. This time we can install the disc, and of course be sure you put it right side up. Don't put it on backwards, or it will be first he shouts, then he whispers, and you're not gonna like that. This screws on, and at one point you'll have to hold this up to get it in position correctly. And let's do a little check here. I think you just screw it on until it bottoms out, because there is a lock nut, but you don't have to adjust how far towards the front plate it goes. And here is the linkage that shifts the hammer assembly over. So that's the whisper position, and that's the shout position. Okay, that's the soft alarm, that's the loud alarm. And as the stopworks mechanism operates on the main wheel, it moves this back and forth. Alright. Now we get to install the alarm mainspring and alarm main wheel assembly. And there's not a whole lot of magic here. Although I have learned a few tricks doing this. This is one of those loop-end mainsprings that I usually do without using any kind of a restraint for the spring. The way it mounts in the movement here is kind of interesting. Because it mounts in there like that. Rather uncomfortable looking arrangement. Get a couple screws in that bridge to hold it in place. Again, I have the wrong size screw. That's a larger screw. That's a case screw. Actually, the case screws are a little bit larger than these bridge screws. And as I listen to this run, it's on this little table, or this little drawer here to hold it up. It sounds like it's out of beat, which is very annoying. And are you in focus? No. Okay, so here's an interesting step now, and that's positioning the stopworks. And we're going to rotate this around to the position it would be in if you were winding the clock all the way, the alarm spring all the way up. Wind that up a little bit. And then I'm going to put some oil on the coils. Get in there and get the center coils oiled also. It will work itself around. Okay, so I've wound it all the way up as far as it will go, just like I was winding a spring normally. Now I'm going to try to put the stopworks on. And really I want it to get the maximum length of soft or whispering alarm that we can. I would rather this stop the winding than the spring being wound up all the way stop the alarming. So what I'm going to do is take that off, let it run a little bit. Okay, see how it dropped down? Okay, so that gave us where it's stopping on the stopworks there. We're almost, you saw how much it turned, maybe not quite a half a turn to get to that point where you can put this on there two ways. Right? If I take this off and put it back on the way I had it initially, see, the spring is all the way wound up. I don't want that. Like that. Alright, with that set, I can put the nut on that holds that in place. And we'll also go ahead and put this pillar nut back on. Get to a point where it's kind of tight. And of course I'm doing this without the pliers handy. Run that down by hand for now. That's good. Okay, I'm going to cut the video off here. We're nearing the 15-minute mark. The next video, we'll do a little bit of oiling on the alarm side and reassemble the motion works and alarm trip. So this is Oklahoma Bridges. Thanks for watching.